Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now regardless of what you think of Half-Life 2, there's no denying that it was certainly a technological and visually impressive marvel when it came out in 2004. 17 years later, it still looks fairly decent, and any potato PC built or bought within the last decade should be able to play it smoothly. It's only recently that I've begun to appreciate what this game did for games. For example, its once critically acclaimed physics and animations may no longer stand out particularly to new and younger players because a lot of games have environmental objects that can be manipulated or broken. Half-Life 2 pioneered what we've become so accustomed to seeing elsewhere today. That's why it's still a big deal, and that's why it should be appreciated as an innovator in the world of PC games. You might be thinking then that this would have required a pretty beefy PC in order to play it when it first came out. According to a few old school benchmark tests I found, even a mid-range Nvidia 6600 GT, released in the same year as the game, was capable of hitting over 60 frames per second across all levels with decent settings. But what if you didn't have a PC? Not even a low spec or budget one. Fast forward to November 2005. The Xbox 360 was 1 week away from launching, and the original Xbox console was seriously long in the tooth. Not that this mattered to Valve. This is Half-Life 2 for the original Xbox. I know that the PS2 got a port of the original Half-Life, but I didn't know that the Xbox got a port of this, not until a couple of weeks ago anyway. The initial hardware requirements for Half-Life 2 on PC were a 1.2 GHz processor, 256 MB of RAM, and a DirectX 7 graphics card as a minimum. The Xbox had a 733 MHz CPU, 64 MB of total system memory, and a custom variant of a GeForce 3 GPU. I bet you know where this is going right about now. Here is Half-Life 2 in all its Xbox tweaked glory. Make no mistake, this is the full game as you know and love it on PC, just with some texture downgrades, longer loading times, some serious frame rate issues, and a lower resolution. I believe it runs at 480p and targets 30 FPS, though it's not often that the game will stick to that. Despite its issues, it's still playable and enjoyable, offering a decent hit of nostalgia along the way. You can pick it up for under a £5 here in the UK, but it's pretty inexpensive wherever you buy it, though I'm pretty confident in saying that 99% of you watching this video right now can probably run the PC version, which I'd recommend all day long over this release. The thing is though, this was to the original Xbox what GTA 5 was to the 360, a game that had no business running on a console edging ever closer towards the end of its life. Half-Life 2 on Xbox was a technical triumph, even if it did suffer as a result. It would have been so easy for the developers to take a few less demanding levels from the game and create a unique spin-off experience that was better suited to the hardware at hand, but the fact that we got a full port instead was just fantastic, and it remains as a defining title of a now obsolete generation. It's funny how nostalgia can influence the way we play games. My first experience with the PlayStation 2, for example, was GTA San Andreas about 15 years ago. To this day, I still prefer to play the PS2 version, albeit through backwards compatibility, on my PS5. It's low res and 30 FPS, but it offers up some unique lighting effects that are missing from the PC release, which I could run at 4K 60 FPS all day long. The reason I mention this is because the same will inevitably apply here. Some people's first experiences with Half-Life 2 would have been via the Xbox, and it will still be the preferred way to play for some of those same people because of the memories it brings back. It's certainly worth experiencing no matter your chosen platform, and because it's so cheap, well, it's probably worth a playthrough, even if you can't get too far into the game because of the sometimes horrible frame rate. Now this has been a little bit different, but with the graphics card shortages and hardware shortages and things like that, I've been focusing on games a little bit more here on the channel. I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. This has been a look back at Half-Life 2 on the Xbox. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.